Dr. Rockwood?
Yeah, I think Dr. Rockwood should give us her life history, and that would probably do it for this week.
I'm pretty sure you don't want to hear it.
Actually, I'm pretty interested, actually.
Yeah, there you go.
So, all right, well, it's 7 o'clock, so go ahead, Lynn, start. She did start it. Okay, well, welcome everyone to the Tuesday Night Friends and Family Call. I'm Michelle Foster. Happy that you are here.
Hi, Michelle.
Hello, Dr. Ron. And with a very, very big introduction to this big personality, I introduce you to Dr. Ron.
Oh, I'm not ready yet.
Week two of our Friends and Family Pilot Coaching. So is there anything that anyone would like to start with? Is there anything you'd like to share about what's going on with the program, or anything about, before we get into Friends and Family, anything specifically about isogenics? This would be your opportunity to do so.
Anything you really like about Dr. Ron, now's your big chance.
I've been using the breathing exercises daily, and they're fantastic. So thank you for that.
Awesome. What did you notice when you did them?
I'm just more aware of the emotion that's causing the feeling.
Yeah.
And I don't think before, I was just very aware of the feeling, and then I respond. But now that I can emotion, I can.
Oh, that's awesome, Gretchen.
Problem.
Yeah. That's a big part of this. Is we have a huge perception in our culture that emotions run us, circumstances and environment run us. And this is really empowerment, self-empowerment coaching. So you're always in control. You can feel whatever you want to feel at any time.
Yeah. It's
pretty cool.
I took the survey before this, and I feel like I just feel so good. And a lot of it is because of that. It's just,
cool.
I'm so much more aware. Yeah. So thank you.
Yes. Excellent. Excellent. That's why we call
Gretchen, because when I met Gretchen at the gym, one of the things that she talked about was that she got a lot of anxiety, right, Gretchen? I mean, you just,
Okay.
So that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, I just posted a deal on anxiety on my Facebook page. I've had a couple of posts this last week. Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. I am on summer break though, so it'll be nice to see how this transfers over when I get it back into work and new stress. Yep.
Absolutely. It'll be amazing. You'll be so surprised. And the more you practice it now, the more it'll be there when you really want it. Okay. And another hint, which you're already tapping into, is you use it for every feeling. It isn't just about when I don't feel good, I want to change it to something better. One of the secrets of this work is that when you do the exact same process on a happy, good feeling, you get more benefit. That's when the actual healing changes happen in your body and in your neurophysiology. The other part is just turning off pain. And that's great. I mean, if that's all it was, it'd be well worth it. Although I personally prefer a triple bourbon, but that's just me. But but when you can learn to use it for your good feelings, you get amazing changes. So kind of observe that as you go forward. Notice, like right now, we could do a little exercise. How does everybody feel right now? And just notice your feeling. Okay. Is it okay for you to feel that way? Yeah. Yes. Now, if you were going to feel better, would that be okay?
Yes.
Yeah. And right away, our minds go, of course. But notice your body. Does your body feel safe if you were just going to get happier and happier and happier and happier?
Huh.
Do you notice anywhere? Most of us, it'll be the throat, the solar plexus, or the stomach. So as I ask, is it okay to be happier than you are now? Is there any tightening somewhere? Is it okay to, yeah, exactly. Is it okay to be even happier than that?
See, I'm getting tickles in my solar plexus. I'm not getting like tension.
That's okay. We haven't talked about it yet, but there's 3 ways to communicate with your subconscious. Okay. One is your emotions and feelings, because we now know from the science, this is brand new information, just the last 20, 30 years, Emotions are processed 95% in your body, not in your brain. If you know what you're feeling right now, you know what's going on in your body, in your subconscious. But the subconscious doesn't communicate directly with your neocortex where you do thinking. So that's why you'll always hear me in the coaching saying, how do you feel? And is it okay to feel better? Okay, now logically the head's saying, well, of course I want to feel better. But how many times in your life, especially as a child, were you having the time of your life and somebody said, would you calm down? Have you done your homework yet?
I get that all the time.
I still get it.
I do
Dr.
too.
Rockwood. You should
People always
see
say
what went
I'm
on
too
with.
happy.
Exactly. We have a huge amount of negative programming about being too happy. Now, the most important part, that's part of it from childhood. But remember, my work is all based on the theme of grizzly bears and 2-year-olds. Everything about how your body reacts to stress, I can explain with a story about a grizzly bear, because I did my residency up in Montana, okay? Everything about how to fix it can be explained by an experience of a 2 or 3-year-old. If you were running from a grizzly bear and you get away, but you're still lost in the woods, and you have a little child with you, and after a little while, they're running off into the woods to play, what are you going to say to them?
Be careful.
Be careful. This isn't a time to be goofing off. There's still bears around. So how many times in your life have you experienced trauma or upset and then felt better afterwards, and then all of a sudden you rebounded back into the problem, you see? Or your body is just trying to protect you from ignoring the threat. And here's the part that most doctors, because they don't teach this in medical school, but what I discovered in researching this neurophysiology, if you really were chased by a bear and you get away from the bear and you're safe at home, how long does it take before your body resets, your nervous system resets to where it was before you saw the bear? What do you guys think?
Oh my gosh, days.
Okay, cool. You'd make a good medical doctor, by the way. What else? Anybody else got an idea? When I do postgraduate medical classes, the most common answer is 2 hours to 2 days. I had one guy say 20 minutes, and I half jokingly told somebody to tackle him and take away his medical license. Now in animals, that's true. If a gazelle's chased by a lion and it gets away, 15 minutes later, it's eating grass. It's forgotten all about it. But guess what? Humans aren't animals. We have something called the neocortex, and we have creative imagination. The medical research on how long it takes to recover from one traumatic incident is minimum 2 to 10 years.
What?
If it happened before you were 5, it's almost permanent.
Wow.
Now my question for everyone is, how many 2-year periods have you had in your life with only one stressful afternoon?
Wait, say that again.
How many 2-year periods in your life have you only had one stressful afternoon in an entire 2 years?
Probably unlikely.
If it takes 2 years to recover from one stressful event, how many times have you gone 2 years with only one event?
Oh God, never.
Never. So how many, and I tell people, visualize little grizzly bears on hamster wheels running in your subconscious. How many do you think are in there right now? How many unresolved traumas are running? And the reason we call it subconscious or non-cognitive is you don't know it's there. After it's been there for 2 to 3 months, the body memorizes it and the cognitive mind loses awareness of it. And it will run and run and run until you break down with a chronic illness or an addiction or something else that stops you in your tracks. That's what this coaching is really about. How do you get at that stuff and unwind it so we can all live our lives as if we had an ideal childhood? Yes, ma'am.
I just have a question about the reticular activator, right? We've always been taught to use it to protect us from things.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard not that long ago that we can actually retrain our brain to actually draw in the positive. Do you believe in that theory?
In principle, yes. But what you have to remember is you essentially have three parts to your brain. You have the neocortex where you think. The language of the neocortex is words, concepts, and ideas. Your body doesn't understand any of that. Okay? Now, the other part, your cerebellum midbrain, controls body function. The language of the body is emotions and feelings. But the two languages are not compatible. So what we now know is as part of the reticular endothelium, as part of it, is your limbic system is the translator, primarily the hippocampus and the other structures around it. So what happens is you have a thought, and that thought has, the hippocampus will assign a little bit of an emotional tag to that thought, or we have a memory of a similar thing. And so it gets tagged as if it was something that happened before. Then it goes through the HPT axis, your hypothalamus, pituitary, thyroid, adrenal, and the body will then take that little tag. I think of it like the icon on a computer where you hit an icon and all kinds of stuff starts to happen. And the body will exaggerate it through a hormonal cascade that roughly, in a general way, throws you into a parasympathetic rest state or a sympathetic arousal stress state, depending on what the feeling is. So again, if you want to know where your body's at and what your metabolism is doing, what you're thinking has almost nothing to do with it. All these years of positive thinking and talk therapy, while it has a benefit, does not directly communicate with your body, and that's why it's so inefficient. It's why affirmations are relatively inefficient. And I use them. I'm not saying they're wrong. None of this is right, wrong, good, or bad, but they're inefficient unless you know how to use them correctly. All right? So if you tell yourself, wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and say, I feel healthy, I feel wonderful, I feel terrific. What's your body saying?
No, you don't.
You're a liar. All right? But now if I can somehow, through a behavior or an association, trick my body into actually feeling good for a moment, and then I say the affirmation, your body says, oh, that's what you wanted. And it will run that program for you. And the coaching is about, first of all, learning how to make those choices and what tools will allow you to have mastery of them. But then it's encouraging each other. That's why coaching isn't about me telling you what to do. It's about us sharing, because we encourage each other to practice it and to get over the rough spots. I have certain issues that are a real challenge for me. And so I'll work with another coach who will help coach me through the processes so that I can handle those emotions better. Until I practice them, and then all of a sudden, the body says, oh, that's what you wanted, and it will start doing it on its own. There's only one thing that your conscious mind does, your cognitive mind does, that the body has to listen to, with one exception. Anybody want to take a guess at what that is? Remember, it's not hearing your words.
Breathe.
Breathing is a body function. That's why we use it, so that we'll pay attention to your body. All right? No, it's choice. Clarity and creativity is about choice. Clarity of vision allows you to make better choices. If you go for the same walk every day, or you go jogging the same path every day, your body will do it automatically after a week or two, right? But if there's a detour or a mean dog or something like that, and you say you choose to go to the other side of the street, what does your body do? It does it. Your body is programmed with only one exception. Your body has to do whatever you choose. But if you're not actively choosing every 6 to 10 seconds, and very few of us even come close to that, the body's running a memorized pattern that it's been doing all along. And as Dr. Dispenza says, your body becomes your mind. Or as we say in sales motivation training, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you always got. And if you're not choosing, you're doing what you've always done. And which is great. That's how it's supposed to work. If what you've always done is ideal for you in your life. But what about the things that aren't working for us? You know, when we were little kids, we would hold our mommy's hand before we crossed the street, and she'd put the fear of God into us if we didn't. So we'd be scared to not to. But if we're dealing with a 26-year-old who's talking to a therapist because they have a panic attack every time they cross the street and nobody's holding their hand, we've got an issue. So what are the mechanisms that allow you to change that? What allows you to be in control of these automatic, non-cognitive behaviors that you're doing without even knowing you're doing them? So the coaching is about, as I say every week, it's about facilitating each other to ask better questions so that we see more possibilities and have greater clarity of vision to make better choices for ourselves and motivate ourselves to do whatever it takes to change and act according to those choices. It's not about an expert telling you this is what you got to do. What do you want? We spent the last week or two doing an exercise to just let our imaginations run wild. If you could do anything at all that you wanted, if you were going to live for another 100 years, $100 million a year in perfect health, what in the world would you be doing with that? Now, it isn't about a logical thought process that this is what I'm going to do. It's about your hopes and dreams and aspirations. Who are you? What's important to you? And if you could do anything, what would it be? Now you start tapping into who you really are. And what motivates all of us more than anything else is not somebody hollering at us, not Dr. Rockwood giving you the look. It's clarity of vision. When you know who you are and what you choose, nobody can stop you. Nothing can stop you. But if you're not choosing for yourself, you're running a program in the non-cognitive body. You may not even know why it's there. You may not even know that it is there. Because anything that we were exposed to before the age of 5, we memorized. And for the most part, we don't have a lot of memories from before 5. Why? Because the clinical research now is very clear that children under the age of 5 are living in a hypnotic learning trance. They're automatically modeling and recording behaviors, emotions, and interactions, and they'll repeat them for the rest of their lives, unless they do this type of coaching. It's the only thing we know that changes it, is behavioral modification. See? No. So is there anything in your life that you do habitually, and after you've done it, say, oh, I wish I hadn't done that, and yet you do it over and over? Is there anything in your life where you tell yourself, I don't want to be doing that, whether it's drinking the 3rd bourbon or the 2nd hot fudge sundae or whatever? What is it that we do habitually and afterwards we wish we hadn't done it? Or even if we know we're going to do it, we tell ourselves, don't do that, we do it anyway. Those are the things that are running off of these patterns. How do you change them? The first step is just notice what you're feeling. Because the feeling, whatever that feeling is that you have right now, is what's triggering that activity, not your thinking. Just say no was one of the dumbest things we ever came up with in psychosocial medicine. Addiction and compulsive behaviors do not live in the part of the brain that you can talk to. Thinking mind has no access to it, but your emotions do. So right this moment, what are you feeling? How do you feel right now? And it doesn't matter. It's not about judging it. It's just, what is it? It can be an emotion. It can be a feeling. It can be a body sensation like the tinglies. Or it could be any sensory thing, like you're smelling an aroma. Or there's a mental picture or a piece of artwork you're looking at. What are you aware of in this moment? And then the secondary question is, does it serve you in this moment? If you're having an anxiety attack right now and you're smelling smoke, that's probably a pretty good thing. Emotions are motivators. Energy is emotion. But if you're having an anxiety attack and you're in a perfectly safe place with people who care about you, that's probably not in your best interest. So what are you feeling right now? And as soon as you notice it, it's not to judge it, it's not even to change it. Just notice that feeling, good or bad. Take a deep breath. Pause. Focus on something you're grateful for as you exhale. And pause, smile, Thank you. Thank you. Okay, then go back to the beginning. What are you feeling right now? Whatever that feeling is, as soon as you notice and become aware of it, it's just a choice to take a breath. Inhale, pause, choose something you're grateful for to focus on as you exhale. Pause, smile, say thank you. Thank you. And again, what are you feeling right now? What are you aware of right now? As soon as you notice something, anything, take a breath. Pause, focus on something you're grateful for. Exhale slowly. Pause, smile, say thank you. Isn't that awesome? Now, how do you feel? How do you feel now compared to when we started the call? And you were so excited you were going to get to hear Dr. Ron again.
I feel peaceful.
Exactly. Now, is it okay for you to feel peaceful?
I like it.
Yeah. And so is it your choice?
Yes.
Then guess who peaceful belongs to?
Me.
It's you. Okay. Now focus on anything that you don't particularly care for, a person, a situation, a memory, a mistake you made. What does that feel like right now? Is that you? Is that your choice? If it's not your choice, it's not you. So would you rather feel that way or feel peaceful? It's your choice. Take a deep breath. Pause. Focus on something you're grateful for. Exhale slowly. Smile. Say thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, if you notice, how many choices do you make with that process?
Lots.
There's a lot of choices, aren't there? I'm tricking you, actually. That's why it's not just a breathing exercise. There's a lot more going on. You're choosing to be aware of your breath or your feeling. You're choosing to notice whether the feeling's appropriate for the moment or not. You're choosing to take a deep breath. You're choosing to pause. It's a choice what you want to focus on as you exhale, a choice to pause at the end, a choice to smile, and a choice to be grateful. Now, who's using choice to control how you feel? It's me. And there's a little phrase you can use just to feel happy about yourself. I choose me, I choose me, I choose me. This is all about choosing me. There's only one expert in the world on you. And the person who chooses in clarity and creativity coaching is you. Now, there's one time where this isn't going to work. There's one time when the body has authority to ignore your choices. Want to guess on that one?
You're in danger.
That's right. Full-blown fight, flight, freeze. If I hold your head underwater for 10 minutes, at some point, every one of us will breathe water. Does that do us any good? Is it a choice to breathe water? No. At a certain level of trauma, the body has the authority to completely shut out the cognitive thinking and go ahead and act with a survival instinct. And guess what, people? That's where addiction lives. Every compulsive habit, every compulsive behavior, everything that we do that we wish we hadn't, but we're doing it anyway, is wired into that part of the brain where your body thinks you have to do it to survive. So how do you change that? You'll never change the fact that if your head's underwater long enough, you're going to breathe. You're going to breathe water. But if we took a Navy SEAL and tried to hold their head underwater for 10 minutes, what would happen? Now, at some point, they will breathe water. In fact, there's an exercise they put them through where they deliberately drown them. so they'll know what it feels like. But a Navy SEAL is trained to hold their breath and stay calm and hold their breath a lot longer than we can. They're trained in risk management and risk assessment. So they're not going out in a leaky boat on a stormy day with a bunch of drunk friends, right? So the trick to changing these behaviors is to intervene before you hit that grizzly bear point. And when you do hit the grizzly bear point, no biggie, just as soon as you calm down afterwards, start reprogramming it. So when it comes to weight management, for example, we've all had the experience of eating something that wasn't on our diet. Anybody who didn't have that experience can now take over the class. All right. But we all also know what it feels like to be wanting it, right? In addiction therapy, we call it an urge. The craving is the part where you're breathing water, but an urge is when you know the craving's coming. You're starting to get that itch, right? Now, at the itch level, you can notice the itch, take a deep breath, pause, focus on something you're grateful for, exhale slowly, pause, smile, say thank you. You do that 3 to 5 times, the itch is gone. Stress cannot live in the same space as gratitude. Yes? Can't hear you, you're muted. You're muted, Michelle. There you go.
That's okay. Yeah. So then how did you get that addiction to begin with? Was it from that age 0 to 5?
In most cases it is, but it'll go back 3 to 5 generations in your family, because the gaps in the 0 to 5 from what we call ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, tend to be perpetuated for 3 to 5 years in a family tree. So the addiction shows up in the 4th or 5th generation in response to a lack of the 5 basic factors that we're supposed to be learning in childhood so we can deal with this stuff a different way. A lot of my clarity and creativity coaching is reinstalling the software programs we should have gotten as children. That's why my motto is, it's never too late to have a happy childhood. Okay? Because if you can reinstall those programs, then you can repair the damage. But what happens, for example, with a lot of us, a lot of people on this call are very intelligent, creative people. And we were probably, to be very honest, the most capable people in our families growing up. We might have even been children of adult alcoholics or parentified children who took care of younger siblings, or even dysfunctional parents. So what ends up happening is we become overly self-reliant at an early age. And then we don't get the programming a child should get, that you can rely on other people to take care of you too, because the people in your family weren't up to it. Or maybe they were even abusive, okay? So what happens then, we become great therapists, we become great business leaders, we become awesome because we're great at taking care of other people. However, when we get stuck, who do we turn to? We don't even have the neurons or the behavioral training to let other people help us, you see? So then at that point, we either break down or we find something that we can control that makes the stress easier to live with. And that might be alcohol, that might be food, that might be a compulsive behavior habit. But whatever it is, it makes us feel good about ourselves and covers up the pain that we're running away from. Addiction and compulsive behaviors like overeating or undereating or anorexia are not about getting high. They're about control and avoiding the pain of dying, the pain of drowning. You see? And so that's why it's overly simplistic to just tell people, well, just don't eat sugar. What's wrong with you? I told you not to eat sugar. Why do you keep eating sugar? Because their body literally believes if they quit eating sugar, they're going to die. You're not going to talk them out of that. But you can teach them how to handle their emotions differently, like they should have been taught as children. And they for themselves can change their motivations to a different behavior. But nobody else can do it for you. That's why coaching isn't about me telling you what to do. It's about sharing my experience and your experience and supporting each other while we practice doing it a different way. Okay. Does that kind of answer the question? Yay. Any other questions? All right, so we have 3 parts to our exercises each week. We start with a little bit of a lecture. That's just that doesn't really change anything, but the reason we start with the introduction and answer some questions and do like we did today is so that you have information to make new choices. The purpose of the neocortex is to evaluate new information and choose what you want to do with it. That's step 1, okay? Step 2, we have a written exercise usually, or some other type of exercise that allows us to activate ourselves to ask different questions and come up with other possibilities so we get a better understanding of who we are. Remember, the non-cognitive, you don't know it's there. Your family may know more about your subconscious feelings than you do. So by doing the exercise like the one we did about if you had $100 million and we're going to live 100 years, what should you be doing with it? That allows you to get to know you. It's not really about what you put down on paper. It's about what are your hopes? What are your dreams? What are your fantasies? You see? And so this week we're going to add to that one. Keep doing that exercise at least once a week. Okay? Because that's the one that expands your own horizons. And you'll spontaneously begin to discover more about what's really important to you. Even if it's something you could never do, but it's letting you know where your heart is. Okay? But now we're going to start start a separate list. Take a clean sheet of paper, and you can start with the other list, or you can just begin, what do you want? If you could choose anything for your life right now, what would it be? And you're going to make 3 lists. You're going to just run a list of what do I want? What do I want from life? What do I want from my family? What do I want from me? What do I really want? Okay? And as you write things down, notice not why. We're not ready for why yet. Why is important, but it gets you in a lot of trouble if you go to it too soon. Just take my word for it. We'll get there later. But how much do you want it? Just be aware when you write something down, I want to be an astronaut. Well, how much do you want to be an astronaut? Okay? Then once you get that list, you're going to write out a list of things that you want. Then you're going to go to the next list, and that's going to be what you really want. Now, it can be the things off the first list, but you're going to pick out the ones that instead of being 1 star are 2 and 3 stars. What do you really want? And after you've played with that list for a while, you're going to get to the C list, which is the one we're really going to focus on. But you want to go through the process because, again, we don't want to limit ourselves. Start with anything with the original list. Then what do I want? What do I really want? And the last list is what do I really, really want? And what we begin to see, we start out expanding into our hopes and dreams and aspirations. And then we start whittling it down to clarity of vision. If you were only going to do one thing for the rest of your life, what would it be? But for most of us, that's a pretty big question to get hit with at 5 o'clock in the morning. So we work our way into it and we explore our feelings. We explore all kinds of things that we would like to do. And then we're going to end up, what do you really, really want? What makes life worth living? Yes, Denise, you're muted. Okay, now. Oh, can't hear you. You're muted again. There you are. Nope.
Okay.
Muted. Okay, now we got you. Okay, question.
So, do you ask these questions, all 3 of them, or are you asking yourself the first question for a couple of days, and then the second question, and then the third question, or are they all 3 each day? You're asking these questions in a row.
You can do it either way, but you can, depending on how long your first list is, you can do them all 3. Okay? Or if that seems like a lot, just do the first 2, and then next week work on whittling it down to what you really, really want. Okay? Again, there's no right or wrong to any of this. This is all about just getting to know ourselves and what's important to us. There's only one person on this call that's going to be able to choose for you what's important for you and what's going to work. Because we're going to be using this later on, because clarity of vision is the most powerful motivator we have. Once you know who you are and what you really want from life, you can use that to change anything in your life. Okay? Remember, the stuff we don't like, that compulsive behavior, addiction type stuff, the body thinks that's so important that it thinks you're going to die if you don't have it. So you better have something pretty precious to you to put up against that. What are you willing to sacrifice your life for? Not literally, but what would you give your time and energy for and be so happy that that's what you got to do for the rest of your life? Now you take that, not the thought of it, but the feeling of it, and you put that up against the addiction, and the addiction withers. It can't hold up to it. But you got to know what it is first, and you got to be able to feel it, and you got to be able to own it. And it's not an intellectual thing. It's got to be your heart, your feeling, and your soul. Otherwise, it won't change the body. It's not about what you believe. It's about who you are. Okay? Does that kind of answer it?
Mm-hmm.
There's no wrong way to do this. Just have fun. If you're not having fun, you're not. Then you got an issue. But it's got to be about fun.
Okay.
Okay? Because I'll give you guys a little bit of a hint. What do we all really want out of life? Come on, Michelle. You said it, but I can't hear you.
Fun.
Yeah, we want to be happy and have fun. And one of the core lies of this world is that we can't do that until we've accomplished all kinds of stuff. Guess what? Why don't we start with the fun stuff? You know, when we were kids, did we want to save dessert for last, or did we want to start with dessert? I mean, come on. This is about being little kids again. It's never too late to have a happy childhood. And children know how to have fun. And guess what? That's one of the 5 pillars that we lose as we go into adulthood, especially if we had dysfunctional childhoods. We've lost the ability to have fun just for the sake of having fun. Any more questions? All right. So this week, we're going to be working on listening to the call once a day if you can. It really makes a difference. I'll tell you a quick story about that. One of my colleagues was teaching a class like this, and he was telling everybody, you got to listen to the call 7 times, or you're not, every time you're going to get something new. Well, the next time, almost no one had done it, but one lady said, I did it. And he said, well, what was your experience? She said, it was amazing. Every time I listened, there were, like you said, there was something I hadn't heard before, and it really struck me. The only thing was that it was an audio call. She says there was this one lady on the call that was so obnoxious, and she really irritated me every single time I listened, until the 7th time, and I realized it was me. She didn't even recognize herself, and she was so upset with herself that she had to listen 7 times before she could even hear that it was her saying all that stuff. So there's a reason for listening over and over. And remember, your body learns from repetition, not from thinking. All of us smart people can probably repeat everything I said verbatim already, but your body hasn't heard any of it until you've processed it with emotion and repetition. Okay, so that's number 1. Number 2 is the written exercise. What do you want? What do you really want? What do you really, really want? And just pare down that list until you get down to just a couple of things, or 2 or 3 things, that any one of those would satisfy you if you could be doing those for the rest of your life. Okay? And then finally, our exercise, we expanded the breathing a little bit. So you're going to notice, if nothing else, just notice that you are breathing. Okay? If not, what are you feeling? What are you aware of? Take a deep breath, pause, shift to something you're grateful for, exhale slowly, pause, smile, and say thank you. And use that for every thought, feeling, and emotion that you are aware of for the next week. And watch your life get amazing just by being aware. Okay?
Okay.
All right. See you guys next week. Have fun.
Okay.
Thank
It's
you.
never too late to have a happy childhood. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.